watch Survivor, and when the show ends, you really wanna talk about it with like-minded friends. It might be hard to find some, but don't you shed a tear. Check out the Purple Rock Podcast, and this is what you'll hear. John will make some dumb jokes, Andy likes to yell and curse, and if they're not available, the backup hosts are so much worse. Spend the whole time being jerks, telling you you're wrong, and so we got this other jerk to sing you our theme song. It's the Purple Rock Survivor Podcast.
Welcome to the Purple Rock Survivor Podcast. I am John, and this week we are talking about the Survivor 49 finale, and I've chosen to mimic Survivor 49's terrible casting strategies by bringing in the worst collection of talent I could possibly find: a very loud Canadian guy, an obnoxious Eagles fan, and someone to represent women, just as a general concept. So I brought in case you haven't already figured this out, Andy, Matt, Emma. Welcome back, huge group that we haven't done this shit with in years.
Remember when you guys tricked me and invited Matt without telling me? So
That was amazing.
That was the best.
But
Yeah,
hello.
we couldn't do that this time because apparently our regular recording software wouldn't allow Matt in.
We have to find a new thing.
It was so scarred by the time that Andy forgot to actually save the recording, so it wouldn't allow me back.
It has a specific anti-Matt bias, which is actually kind of funny.
We're allowed to have one.
Right. All right. So, everyone, and I'm just going to call out names because otherwise there's going to be a clusterfuck of talking over each other. This is why I remembered we stopped
To be
doing
clear, it's going to be a clusterfuck of
this.
talking.
It will still be that, but I'm going to try to mitigate that disaster as much as possible. So, question number one, which we always start with: did we like this episode? And I'll let the representative of all women talk first. Emma, how'd you feel about this one?
Hey, well, first, happy to be your answer for the great question. For $1, name a woman. I'm here for that. I mean, you know, this is always tough for finales. It was fine. I know that's not an exciting. I will say there were some things I didn't expect to happen that did happen. For example, I thought, like, once Savannah won Final Five, well, clearly they're just going to vote out Sage, because why would you vote out Kristina? But that's because we didn't know that she's secretly really good at fire. We'll talk about that more later. But yeah, I mean, it wasn't, if we were still doing predictions, I wouldn't have gotten it 100% right, which is usually more fun.
All right, Matt, what about you?
Yeah, I mean it's a finale. You get basically normal finale stuff. The person that was the favorite to win when the finale started won. It's the person I wanted to win, so I liked it more than someone I didn't want to win. So that's kind of how I felt about it.
All right, Andy?
Yeah, it was kind of boring. I didn't give a shit about most of it, you know.
You're much more in line with me in that, like, the only thing I cared about is I lost a bet. Like, I was pretty convinced that Rizzo was winning, but only because, like, I didn't think anyone was going to take him out. And so, at that point, I'm like, well, shit, I know he's going to be immune. And then, like, I don't think anyone's getting rid of him. And, like, my wife was busy watching Heated Rivalry for the first 2 hours. And honestly, that seems like a better decision in hindsight. Like, I just should have just gone and watched that shit. It's like, I mean, this was, yeah, I was a little shocked when Rizzo, once Rizzo went home, I'm like, well, shit, now I know how this is ending. But I just assumed all along, like, yeah, I guess he'll win, even though I don't really necessarily want him to. Like, deserving, quote unquote, does apply to him.
Yeah, I never bothered to work out in my head which of those two was winning because it didn't matter. You know, one of them was whichever one made it to the finals, and after that, you know, I like Emma said. Did it go exactly as I expected? No. But in the ways that it didn't go, I didn't really care. You know, I don't really care who went home between Sage or Kristina. I didn't really care who won between Savannah and Rizzo. So as appropriate for this season, it was like, okay.
You know, the one person that you didn't mention in that little digression there, Sophie, do you know why you probably didn't mention her? Because she was an absolute inanimate object. So let's start by discussing.
You got 2 votes at the end. She got 2 freaking votes.
Look, guys, we'll get
you
into
didn't mention her because the other things he talked about was A or B, and there was 5 people. But
Yeah. All right. So let's briefly dispense with the Sophie chatter. So the one thing that we knew about Sophie this whole season is that she had the knowledge is power. Obviously, she fucking blows it last time. Gets absolutely clowned. Hilarious moment. Like Sophie's shining moment of the season. So we spent the start of this episode with her just reliving her shame, which I have to admit I kind of enjoyed. All right, let's see. We'll start with Matt this time. What did you think about Sophie's own preoccupation with her knowledge is power failure the previous episode?
Frankly, from the fact that the episode centered so much of Sophie from right at the beginning, right up to the end, I was worried that she was going to win, and I was going to be really pissed because it started out with her worrying about that and then being like, oh, I got this advantage. That makes up for it. And then I somehow came back and won immunity at Final Four. And then I chose the 2 that went to fire. And then I actually gave good answers at Final Tribal. And it's God damn it, are they going to blow this? And I really thought they would because, I mean, one thing we know about the people on this jury is that they sucked. Right. So I thought they would continue to suck. And so the focus with her, especially starting with that knowledge is power, I was like, yep, okay, we're going to get the undeserving winner this kind of not good season deserves. Yeah, that makes sense. Sure.
You and several of our commenters were terrified of the Sophie win, which I didn't see coming. Emma, did you see that?
I didn't for the most part, but I think I, like many of us, are still a little scarred from the Gabler win. You never know. And so during Final Tribal, I think particularly, I agree with Matt that she had decent answers, sort of how I was like, oh shit, Sam's got pretty good answers. And last season. But the thing that worried me is that it seemed like the jury was really eating it up. She had them in the palm of her hand. They were laughing, and we've seen we saw with Tony at Winners at War. I thought in 43 they were laughing at Gabler and not with, but that was apparently wrong. That when people are vibing with it, that's usually a good sign. And so my husband and I were talking ooh, she might have this, especially because we'll get into it, but Savannah having one particular moment in Final Tribal, it seemed like that was a real tone shift. But then towards the end, I when she answered, I guess it wasn't Yellow Sophie's question, but when she talked about that move, getting the information from Yellow Sophie and then later voting her out, I thought that was a very good answer. And it seemed like she kind of won some people back there. And so I was like, okay, we might be okay. It might still be that. And that proved to be the case. I do think some of this, is that we had so many, the beginning of the new era had so many seasons where it was a 6-1-0 vote or whatever. And I think the audience is maybe still a little primed to that. And so there's a sense of if one person is against someone, that they're definitely not going to win.
All right.
So I think they showed how she got a couple of votes, which even she seemed surprised about, probably because she was so worried about the knowledge is power thing.
Andy,
if I'm with Savannah, I lose, and she was with Savannah, so she figured she'd lose.
Andy, were you scared about this potential Sophie win?
No.
Same.
Yeah, the same all season. She was not anything. And I guess there was a moment of fear only because I did not want to live in the world in which people were then going to rewrite the history of Sophie as though she was some great winner that she was. But that's it wasn't going to happen. Even when it's the start of this episode, she's still going on and on about, oh, I look so stupid when I played the knowledge is power, blah, blah, and I didn't do it and all this. And that was all week, all post merge. It's oh, she has an opportunity to do something with it. But what if I get it wrong? I'll look dumb. It's like, just fucking do something. How about do something that will help and benefit you? Because here's the thing. Even if you had stolen Steven's block a vote, it wouldn't have meant shit. The votes didn't matter. You had them all.
Yep.
You know, it's like even like the move that failed for her was nothing.
Yep.
Much like her entire game. And I honestly disagree. I don't think she was impressive in Final Tribal Council at all. She said some things. Yeah, I think the jury was just being nice, you know, because Sophi is a likable person. But it's like, yeah, what was your best strategy move? No answers for that. Like, no, I wasn't worried.
Yeah, I mean, her best strategy was her social game, which we'll discuss some flaws in that one later. And the only thing for me, like, it was just her whole case at the end was just going to be like, if she had nailed that move of the knowledge is power thing, was just the whole case going to be like, wow, you guys, I kept that a secret and then I played it at the right time. Fine, but like, you were the third wheel of a 2-person alliance, and like, you were never the power player in that alliance. You weren't calling shots. Like, it was pretty clear to us who was making the deciding votes in those cases and who was making the like social outreach in those cases. Like, there was nothing there. I was not at all afraid that she was taking this.
I think
how did she survive to make the finals? Because when it came time to, well, we can't vote out that one or that one, so it's got to be her. And they're all like, yeah, but no, because it's not worth it.
No, it's not that I was afraid that like she like deserved it. I was afraid.
I get you.
Yeah,
for sure.
I was afraid they were going to mess up, and the episode was like basically told from her perspective. So I was like, is that what they're setting up here? Because I've been surprised a few times in the new era, you know, and it was with people that like I thought I was thinking we were getting another Erica, not another Gabler. And Erica was someone who like we were like, why is this person like popping up when they're not doing anything until like right near the end? We were like, oh crap, are they winning? And it never seemed justified by what we saw on the TV. And that's kind of what I was feeling with Sophi, was a possibility, even though I didn't think that's what they were telling.
I will give you this, because Andy mentioned this before. Based on the way that these people played, which was terribly, to be clear, you couldn't expect that they were then going to be great at being jurors.
Well,
so
exactly.
Having the fear that you're going to have them be terrible jurors as they were players, totally reasonable. I can understand that. I just didn't see like any possible way the votes were going to get high enough for her in that scenario.
Yeah.
But like, even at the beginning of this episode, when again she's going on about, the huge mistake, and I regret not taking, Rizzo's idol. Come off it.
Nope.
Who are you trying to fool? We were there. We saw when they gave you a margarita and you spilled all your secrets, right? But also it's like, and she's still going on there. But like, I'm the swing vote. I have to decide between Kristina and Sage or Rizzo and Savannah. It's like, Sophi.
Right.
Sophi.
That also cracked
You're
me
not
up
going to
because
have that decision. The time to make that decision was a while ago. Like this, we haven't even seen the challenge yet, but I've seen what's going to happen in the challenge. It's like those other two people will not be eligible to be voted out. So the decision is already passed. You blew it.
Yep. All right. Speaking of the challenge, we did get the challenge advantage thing. Sophi wins it. It just, I don't know, man. I'm just going to go out on a limb here. This was about like, and actually it's kind of appropriate that Sophi wins it, because it was the most pointless, it's like lowest stakes thing that you could possibly have happen, because the challenge, as you just mentioned, no stakes whatsoever. Like, Sage or Kristina had to win to save themselves. Neither of those things seem very likely. And even if they had, you just vote the one that doesn't win immunity, right? Like there's nothing to this. So yeah, when we finally get that challenge advantage, like, I don't know. I mean, Emma, did you feel any differently at all when she won? Like, oh, this is going to change things?
No, I mean, have we I have a decent memory, better than you guys.
Oh, high bar.
Between John and Matt, that's an extremely low bar. But I have a pretty good memory for the show. But I will say I don't necessarily have that, but I feel like has the little challenge advantages, particularly in the new era, ever fucking mattered? Because it doesn't feel like it does.
Yeah, I can't think of anything new. Like, obviously, like in the past, like Danny winning the advantage in the auction probably won the season for her.
I remember.
Because that was a massive advantage, right? There was also, like, I think
Cochran had a
Keith-
big advantage in the season. He won too, I remember.
Keith got, like, to practice in motion.
Oh,
But, like,
that's
this
right.
was nothing.
Yeah.
This was nothing.
Mhm.
It's like, they could, like, you get to skip half the rungs. Fucking just go all the rungs. And that's still nothing. Because at the end, it's still just a fucking puzzle.
Yep.
Like, this is like everything, like every other challenge in the most history of Survivor. All of the pre-puzzle stuff is not going to matter. And then they're like, we're going to, like, you winning this scavenger hunt, which takes up, 10 minutes of screen, probably not 10 minutes, but a segment of screen time. We'll give you like 4 rungs, like, and that wasn't even a challenge. Like when we saw like Savannah and Rizzo doing it first, it didn't really seem to like befuddle them at all. And I've seen Rizzo on puzzles. Like if it had any degree of difficulty, I would have saw it there. So like this was nothing.
That actually did give me a moment that left when Rizzo and Savannah make it first to the puzzle, and Rizzo's like, "Oh, I guess it's just you and me. Oh, you finished it."
Yeah.
All in one. And I'm pretty sure he then immediately copied her because he did. That's what
Of course he did.
Yep.
And no,
The easiest puzzle ever, and still he's like shape. But yeah, no, like that. And I was going to complain. It's like we dedicated, valuable screen time to this until like I kind of watched more of the episode. It's like, man, yeah, there was really nothing at camp for them to show otherwise.
They skipped over.
Yeah, they skipped it. It was like because that happened when there was the interruption to the finale, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, I was pretty sure we weren't actually going to lose time. But yeah, we went from one tribal council immediately to the next immunity challenge. It's like, fair. I don't really need to see these people sitting around talking much more anyway.
Exactly.
So I guess send them on a scavenger hunt. But like, at least pretend there's a reward.
Well, let's talk about the results. Wait. Oh, go ahead.
Are you saying that on the, because my broadcast wasn't interrupted. I didn't have them go to reward.
No, like we saw it all, but like how it worked in the Eastern broadcast is they vote out Kristina,
and then
the Orange Goblin comes on,
immunity,
and then it comes back to immunity, which is I think the entire episode. I do not believe there was anything in between there. Right?
Yeah, I didn't think we missed anything.
So. Sorry.
No, I didn't feel it, but it's like usually you would go check in after tribal council with like what happened, but we didn't. And it was like there was a second when it was like, did we lose time due to this? And just for like non-Canadians or the people who weren't there, hilariously, of course, we did not get the useless speech from your dear leader. Instead, they showed a clip of a Canadian reality TV show about border control.
Perfect.
And not any border. This isn't at the airports. U.S. border control. And it's not like anything exciting. It's like, you're trying to sneak fruits and vegetables into the country or shit like that.
Amazing.
Right?
That's so funny.
And I have to believe that was a choice.
Anyway, West Coast wins again.
Well, let's talk about the vote, because there, I guess, was a decision in that it came down to Sage or Kristina, which fucking obviously it did, and they ended up voting out Kristina. I mean, we'll talk about how that impacted various people's end games, but I think for me, I was just stunned that they voted out what was easily, I thought, the most beatable player. That person just doesn't get voted out. I don't get why that happened. And I think that, that means that Sophi must have genuinely thought that as the least impressive member of a 3-person alliance, she could win without like bringing Kristina to the end. Like it was staggering to me. Andy, what'd you think?
Yeah, I mean, look, obviously none of us knew the threat that Kristina posed at Fire. And for everybody complaining about that, it's like, it's fine that we didn't know that. It really
Yep,
is.
who cares?
I don't know how anybody else on this cast does at Fire either. Like, it doesn't need to be a story element. And frankly, if it ever is made a story element, then we know how that story is finishing.
Yep.
Right. Anytime they introduce whether somebody is prolific at Fire or not, it usually means that their story will then center around fire making. So it's fine that they just gave us here. Whereas the problem is, it's like, and I think Savannah's reasoning was perfect and sound.
Yeah.
Savannah knows that she needs probably either to win immunity or to win fire making. So, like, the difference between Kristina and Sage is nothing, right? I'm actually convinced that, she still would have gotten a vote. Kristina probably would have gotten a vote anyway. So not even potential vote loss. But if you're Sophi, as you're bringing it,
Yep.
and she makes it like this is like, oh, it's a hard decision, such a hard decision. I'm gonna have to like figure it out at tribal council. And then Rizzo's like, hey, I kind of need to know beforehand so we could coordinate this. Oh, right. This is not a hard decision for you at all, Sophi.
Nope. You
have one path to victory. One. And you let that path go out the door.
Yeah. I mean, I'm assuming, Matt, you're on board with this.
Yeah. So my thing was, this is obviously the right move for Savannah and Sage. I think the real thing was, I think the only person that it may not have been was Rizzo. But I think Rizzo's thinking, Savannah's just winning final, the challenge. So I need someone I can beat at Fire. And apparently no one thought they could beat Kristina. So he's like, so vote out Kristina now.
Yeah, I mean,
I can see it from Rizzo's perspective. Like, if you don't have the self-belief that you were going to win, then you should feel as Rizzo that you're going to Fire.
Yeah.
And thus you want to eliminate the biggest fire threat.
Totally. And that's...
But if you're Sophi...
Yeah, no,
and
for Sophi it made no sense, but Sophie's not a good player. This is, established.
And I'll allow that Sophi isn't necessarily planning to win the next challenge herself. But, again... all you should be thinking about is there's one combination of players that will allow me to win this game. And I don't know how I'm going to get there, but I have to allow it to be possible.
Right. And so since she didn't think that, I think she didn't realize that was the only combination where she stood a chance. Emma, what'd you think?
Yeah, I thought it was pretty interesting. And it's because I feel like that if you had... And Rizzo is kind of in the middle, like you were saying, where it kind of works both ways. But Rizzo and Sophi being on one side of it and Savannah being on the other I think this is maybe Savannah's best move of the season.
Yeah.
This was her winning move. And they just allowed that to happen. But it's tricky because also at the same time, so I'm assuming, Rizzo and Sophi, and based on how them ultimately putting her in Fire, both need Savannah to leave, right? And they both know that in theory. So on the one hand, Kristina more likely to beat Savannah in Fire if you're lucky and Savannah doesn't win Final Four, which she doesn't, but they don't know that. Sage, though, is more likely, even though no one there at this has won immunity besides Savannah. Sage at least has come closer. And so maybe you think Sage is more likely to be that person who wins Final Four, certainly more likely than Kristina, but is less likely to beat her in Fire. So I think they are these kind of diametrically opposed things. And maybe that's why Savannah was ultimately able to convince her, although in exit press, Sophie said that Rizzo was just worried that Savannah would be upset about it. And it's like, bro, you can't be caring about that.
Yeah, and honestly, that could be it, totally it, right? Yeah. That it could be more than anything, the key to Savannah's victory in the way that she was able, with Rizzo, to dominate the second half of this game. People were scared of her.
Yes.
He's direct.
Nobody wanted to take the shot and miss and then live with being there with Savannah the next day.
Well, because they did that and they saw how that worked out. And they were like, when they took the shot at Nate, which Sage was like, don't do that. You don't want to be around her if you miss. And none of them realized what that would be like. And then they did. And they're like, oh man, this sucks.
So Now let's get back to shitting on Sophi, as I promised earlier, because Sophie's vaunted social game, right? Like the thing that she touted at Final Tribal Council, we got just an amazing example of it, which was they get back, obviously, people want to feel like they have some sort of agency in whether they stay in the game, right? They're going to want to talk to you. They're going to want to plead their case.
Mhm.
And so Sophie's move is actually shut the fuck up. I'm going to go sit off on my own. I'm going to make the decision myself. I don't want to hear from any of you. Social queen. Nailing it. Absolutely. No notes. Yeah. And I get that, like, honestly, a lot of the times that shit's just for show. You're just letting people, vent, try to make their case, whatever. But that's the whole fucking point.
Yeah.
It is for show. Just do it. What the fuck?
It's really emblematic of her game because it's kind of like, I think Sophie's social game, quote unquote, was just the fact that she felt guilty enough that she would let everyone talk to her, which then gave them the belief that she might vote with them. But what good is a social game if you never use it to actually make anything happen?
And you also touched on another point, which was her strategic game. Like, if you keep convincing people, like, yeah, I might vote with you this time, and then you never do, yeah, they're going to have a fucking bitter taste in their mouths because you kept like dangling this carrot of like, oh yeah, I'm going to vote with you guys, and then never did it.
It's Hannah in Millennials versus Gen X.
That's what I'm saying. It's like, it's never going to go well.
Bell pepper and blood versus blood.
Yeah.
It's a great strategy if your strategy was to go to the end against Savannah. And the problem is,
Nailed it.
and the Final Tribal Council, you're like, yeah, no, I orchestrated this. You guys fed me information, and then I used that to keep Rizzo and Savannah in the game. People are like, yeah, but that was bad. You shouldn't have done that.
That's why you're about to lose to them.
Yeah. So then, yeah, with this, I 100% think what happened is why she's like, I don't want to hear any negotiation. I'm just going to make my decision. Is she had made her decision, but she knows that if she lets Savannah and Rizzo talk to her, they're going to change her mind.
Yes.
Because they always had. Always.
Yes. So she knows, and credit to her recognizing her limitations. It's like, I can't let Savannah talk to me or I won't be able to do what needs to be done. Just like, I told them about my knowledge is power, just like I never took Rizzo's idol, all of that. So that is her trying to protect herself because she's, didn't want to disappoint them.
Who actually had social games that worked to further themselves in the game? Savannah and Rizzo, who were able to use themselves, Savannah to keep Sophie in line and with them the entire time, to swing other Sophie over at a crucial time, and then Rizzo to keep convincing Jawan and Sage to jump to them. Like, that's actually good social play, not Sophie just appeasing people's hurt feelings as she's voting them out.
Right. It just, the one thing that did mildly surprise me, that after this period where she goes off and makes the decision in calm and quiet reflection, she decides that is her moment. She's going to make Rizzo and Savannah go against each other in fire making. And, she kept promising that she was going to turn on them. And of all the times to do so, the time when you're definitely going to end up against one of them in the Final Tribal Council, I mean, is there better timing? I would argue there's simply no better moment, right, Emma?
Yeah, that's one strategy. I mean, I honestly, this whole time, like, it's like, I didn't give a shit about her not allowing them to plead their case. That didn't matter to me. I
just thought it was emblematic of her game.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, we end up with an all-female final three because the two inept fire makers, it turns out Savannah's not as inept as she might have thought she was.
She got the thing going pretty good.
I know.
Especially, like when it practicing too, it seemed like she got it like instantly, and it was
she's like, what is this hard?
Yeah, it's very funny.
My mom,
she's like, oh, look at that, I'm awesome at this too. How about
she's
that?
like, I guess Savannah can just do anything.
Yeah. Who knew I was amazing at this as well?
Well,
Just
there's one
everything.
thing that we know she can't do. So,
Well,
we'll get to
anyway,
that.
we end up with an all-female final three because of Savannah's win. And at this moment, I'm just going to step back. This is a good time. Emma, Matt, if you need to refill your drinks, take a quick bathroom break.
Yeah, you got it.
I'm going to let our boy Andy take a moment to just be mad at the internet. Andy, take it away.
Honestly, I am mad at the internet. I think this is instructive, and I understand where it's coming from, but it needs to stop. So first off, yeah, celebrate all female three, and in the moment for them, like you're at the final tribal council, call it out. Great, yeah, celebrate it. If you're the jury members, congratulations, this is a cool thing because you're being generous. All right, but the people at home being like, we finally have an all female final three. We haven't had one in so long. When was the last time we had an all male final three? And I legitimately asked, I couldn't even think of one. Emma, to her credit, was able to remember Nicaragua, which is, for the record, farther away than San Juan del Sur. I believe it's farther away from One World. And if you're like, that's just the last time, that's the only time there's been an all male final three.
But perhaps a sign of what can happen if we let all men get to the end, because look at this.
A horrible season that I'd otherwise blocked from my mind. So yes, there's been 3 all-female final threes, 1 all-male final three. So this act like, oh, the show has finally given this to us. It's like, actually, it's 3 times more likely to happen. But forget, and then like his final twos, it's I saw a skeet, whereas like the first 11 seasons there were 3 female final twos. I didn't then go to the math and see if there was any others. There's only 3 male final twos in the history of the game. The common thing for this to happen in this show is mixed gender finals. But okay, fine. It's like that part honestly doesn't even matter, other than it's like we can probably stop acting like, we finally did it, when it's a thing that like just happens a little bit more often, but still not that often. Here's why we shouldn't celebrate this. Why are we pretending like being a finalist in Survivor is an achievement worth celebrating?
I mean, specifically, I was shocked that Kristina didn't make the final because she is nothing.
Yes, this isn't a real thing. This isn't like, yeah, ladies, we finally did it. Now, look, if it happened in Micronesia, that would have been something to celebrate because they actually worked together to defeat these other people, right? Yeah. But normally, we know this. There is usually at least 1, if not 2, people that are in the finals because they suck at Survivor, not because they're good at it, including this very season, which we're like, yeah, ladies doing it on their own. Now, being a finalist in Survivor isn't a celebrated thing unless, you're competitive once you are there. I think people get it confused because we're just like looking for either things to be excited about or, frankly, more often things to be angry on behalf of. But this isn't like a finals like it is in sports, where both teams defeated people in order to get there. And sure, sometimes in sports, like one conference is better than the other. So it's, the other path isn't as impressive, but they were still like winning their way there. Yeah. This isn't like awards where like the finalists or the other choices for the winner. Like, if it wasn't for this, these are the next best ones. Yeah. And you're like, yes, that's exactly what it is. But no, the way Survivor works for like 95% of its history is somebody gets to the end because the other people thought they were no good. So this isn't actually like, oh yeah, ladies are, go. It's so good that we got 3. It's like, no, we got like 1 that was really good. We got 1 that like people kind of liked, and we got 1 that sucked.
So
we don't need to celebrate this. And I'll even argue that it's probably more likely that we would get an all-female final 3 than an all-male final 3 because of the way sexual politics work in this game. In that, men, so to get an all-male final 3, then obviously a man won the Final 4 challenge and then is deciding who to take with him. A man is probably more likely to assume that a woman is a goat than a male is a goat. Whereas, so then it's less likely to have 3 men.
So you're saying it's actually quite woke for that guy to go, no, 3 dudes. That's what we're doing in this one.
But it doesn't happen, right? Like, that's the other thing that happens a lot is like whenever people talk about like women's alliances, like, what about all the male alliances that have been happening all the time throughout Survivor history? I'm like, yeah, what about those? What are they? You're misunderstanding how sexism works. Men view each other as competitors in a game where you're trying not to have that many competitors. But the big thing is like, yeah, we can celebrate Savannah as another female winner. We can celebrate her as a dominant challenge threat and what that means for women. We could even celebrate that this post-merge was majority woman. But we shouldn't be celebrating a finals because the finalists are not the best players of the season. They're just the ones that are still there.
So I want to briefly talk about what was, I think, in everybody's mind, the most interesting moment of the final tribal council. And that was Kristina's jury question to Savannah.
None of us get to have anything to say.
To Andy's rant? No, fuck it. That is his baby. You let him have this. How dare you?
Right,
He worked hard on that.
Go to the kitchen.
I actually stepped away, so I didn't hear it.
That's what I'm saying, right? Like, I told you what to do first.
Well,
come on.
Was I scrolling on Reddit for some of it? Perhaps, but I
That's
was
what I'm-
also listening. I did have a couple of things I'd like to say. One is, I think one thing that's good about it though is although, is it good? Because I also don't like fire making. But one of the complaints people often had about the automatic Final Four fire making is that it's like somehow sexist, and that the women more often have lost to the men. I would say we had a pretty small sample size when that was being proclaimed, and I don't think it's an inherently masculine trait especially when it comes to like Survivor, where everyone knows that's a thing now, right? So I guess, if it'll quiet down some of that noise, I think that's good, that we had Savannah beat Rizzo. I've actually often been saying how it frustrates me when everyone assumes anyone who got 0 votes is like automatically a GOAT or like was actually a bad player. I don't think that's inherently true. I think sometimes, sure, a lot of times that people are GOATs, right, who are in the final 3, and they're not just because you got second place. You're not I don't think Eva was the second best player on 48. That's probably Camilla or something, right? But I also don't think, she and Joe were GOATs, like in the sense that they were like terrible at the game. And so I don't, this season, maybe there are some arguments about that. But as we've said, most of them are terrible at the game. But I don't think all finalists who are all non-winning finalists are like bad.
No, but like it is the meta of Survivor since like Colby lost to bring people to the end who you think you can beat.
Yeah, but
so being a finalist in of itself is not a celebratory cause in the game of Survivor.
Right, it's not a guarantee.
Like, you did it. Yeah, some people screwed that up. But yeah, it's just like, oh, they made it to the end. It's like, yeah, we know how people make it to the end. Some people are contenders and some people absolutely aren't. Like, you could make it to the end of Survivor by being the worst player of your season. So then to be like, this is a great accomplishment. It's like, it's not. It was a great accomplishment for Savannah. I mean, decent accomplishment for Sophi.
And to Emma's point,
Sage was there.
And to Emma's point, we have had Carolyn in a fairly recent season, 0 vote finalist, but we saw she genuinely played a good game. But I think that's, to Andy's point, though, much more of an exception than the rule. I think it skews more that if you made it to the final and you got blanked, probably you were taken there because everyone expected you'd get blanked at the final.
And especially in the new era where you were literally taken there, right?
Yep.
Like one of the 2 people was literally taken there. So it's just like, say we got an all-female final 3 because Sophi correctly recognized that she was much more likely to beat Sage than Rizzo.
Yep.
It wasn't because Sage did this and it's like something to be celebrated. It was because she was more likely to lose.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, and in this case, what I think it really means is it's more of a sign to like what you said, that the post-merge was majority women. Like, if not as many men Rizzo was the only man from like final 6 on.
Yep.
Right? When did Steven go home? Where are we? What time is it?
He was 6.
Steven went out at 6.
Okay, so I guess final 5 on, which isn't that far. But they were definitely outnumbered for quite a while. And if that happens, statistics. I don't know statistics, but I assume statistically they're less likely to make it to the end. There's fewer of them. Sorry, Brad. I tried to math. I know I'm not supposed to do
Brad
that.
is so angry somewhere right now, and he doesn't know why.
Not because I'm a girl, but because I'm stupid at math.
Yeah. No, like honestly, like the math of it all, that's a red herring. My point that I want everybody to take away from is being a finalist, it doesn't fucking matter. Being good at Survivor and being a finalist they're
not synonyms.
Sometimes a correlation.
Yeah.
But so it's not like, that was the 3 best players of the season. Fuck no, it wasn't. Maybe in like 3 seasons in the history of Survivor was that true, and I'm just pulling that number out of my ass. But like it's certainly like I think Cook Islands you can make that argument or something, but like for the most part, like it's like 1 good player and 2 shitty ones. So yay.
All right, let's move on because I really want to get to the Kristina jury question.
There's 3 shitty ones, by the way.
It's
also.
the most interesting thing about this episode. So that's
yeah.
100%.
Very often the jury questions at the end are just like, yeah, great. This was a genuine like cringe moment. Like it was, you knew exactly what Kristina was doing. Like we'd gotten told, like it's canon several episodes ago that she hated Savannah. Like they are not friends. And so she just says, hey, Savannah, is like, women, name 1. Like basically she said, oh, people, name people in their lives. It's just like pop quiz. And, watching this for Savannah, why the fuck do you try to answer that? Like, I do not see the need at all. Like, it just brought me back to 2024 and we're like trying to cater to the whims of someone that's not going to fucking vote for you anyway. What was the point of even answering that question?
Well, she did try not to initially.
she said.
I don't think I can do that. And Kristina, I'm like, you just
So fucking dodge it like a politician.
I actually think, though, that Kristina insisting that she do so gave Savannah. I actually think that answer was not as bad as it seemed on like TV and to Kristina. I think that kind of backfired on Kristina. I think they were like, yeah, you don't know the names. We didn't really expect you to like know that. You actually did remember like the content of who these people were in our lives for the most part, which like, we weren't close with you. Like we were trying to send you home the entire time. Like, so it's like
we immediately iced you out after the merge. How dare you not know my sister's name?
Yeah,
right.
I actually think that like, I mean, it seems cringe to not know names, but frankly, I don't know. Like, okay, let me put it this way.
I was like,
John,
that would be so bad.
John, do you know any of your coworkers' family names? Because I bet the answer is like no. And
I was gonna say, I know one. I thought the example you were gonna go with was like, hey John, name something happening in Andy's life. Or vice versa.
Yeah, forget coworkers. The 4 of us.
There you go.
We've known each other for 14 years.
Oh my God.
Disgusting.
Okay.
I just threw up in my mouth.
At least 10 of those, we have chatted with each other basically every day for like a decade, other than maybe one of us are like on vacation and like no access to the internet. Right. Okay. Like I went on a cruise for a week, but I was still hopping on Slack when like we were on like an excursion. Okay. I can name all of your spouses. I can name Matt's dog.
Well, yeah, but I mean that's the important one. So
yeah,
I can name at least 2 out of John's 3 kids. Can I name any of your siblings or parents? No.
So
I actually don't know for sure how many siblings John has.
see, here's a great example.
God knows that.
John probably cannot name Emma's mom's name or her sibling's name or anything. But you know what John remembers and brings up all the time? What Emma's dad did.
That's right. The one fact that I know about Emma, her father's employment.
My dad, I think, has been retired almost the entire time we've been friends.
That's okay. That's the only fact I need to know about you. If they ever ask me that question and you're sitting in the jury, I'm be like, you know what? I don't know much about, like, I couldn't tell you Emma's eye color. I couldn't tell you, I could barely tell you which baseball team she was for, but you know what I can tell you? I can tell you what her dad did for a living 1+ years ago.
Emma's brother, I know what he does for a living. I know that he has 2 children. I don't know their names.
I
can't, names just don't matter to me that way.
Yeah.
Bring that up
Also, most of the time, you don't refer to these people by name when you're talking about them. You say, my brother,
Right.
my sister,
Well,
my mom.
That's how we converse. I don't know if that is a universal truth. And it's like, I'm kind of actually interested in Emma to fulfill her role as a representative of all women here. Like, when my wife talks about her workday, she's referred to all her coworkers by their names, and like sometimes their coworkers' spouses by their names. I'm like, okay,
You gotta keep notes.
I've grasped 2 of those names, I think, and like some of these names have been around for like decades now, and it's like, but does she know mine? Like, she's asked, so she actually probably has remembered. But like, do my coworkers know her name? No, one does, because my employee, and it's a woman, right? She's asked, but otherwise, I always refer to her as my wife. Whenever I'm referring to basically anybody to a third party, it's in relation to me, like who that person is to me, my boss, my kid, my oldest, my youngest. So from the lady's perspective, so for me, like Savannah not knowing, I was like, I don't give a shit.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, like for me, as someone with a shitty memory, I'm like, thank you for representing right now. I'm so proud.
But how did that play to you, Emma?
Yeah. I mean, just the way it aired, it felt so awkward and cringe. But I do think, for one, I think her answer, particularly to Kristina, now keep in mind, she was not getting Kristina's vote. It didn't fucking matter, right?
Nope.
But the fact that she goes like, I know, like at the challenges, I remember saying like, do it for your kid, like naming your kids. And I'm like, no, you said do it for your fucking mom.
Your fucking mom.
Fucking mom, not just your mom.
Like 3 times last night.
But saying that but still not producing the name, I think actually really, whether it was true or not, leads credence to the idea of like, I feel put on the spot and I'm blanking,
Right.
Which I think actually really worked for her. But as to say about work, that's so interesting because I have worked remote for many years now. So in that case, yeah, I don't think any of my coworkers, and I've only been here like a year and a half, I don't think any of my coworkers know my husband's name. They know I have one, but it hasn't come up often. Maybe the ones who, follow me on Instagram do. But like, I think in person, when I worked in person, that came up more often. And I would know, like my old coworkers, the last time I had a job in person, like the people I'm friends with, I know their spouses' names and kids' names and stuff like that. So I think it's a little tricky. I think when you're, which may be why we don't know, when you're communicating solely on Slack, it feels less natural for that to come up. I think.
At the same time, like if we were saying the names, we'd have textual like evidence, like a chain.
Right.
I mean, we don't pay for it, so that would go away after a while. But
yeah. Also, I'm so glad Matt brought up the thing about John, because I was gonna say that because it is so funny.
We're all thinking it. I mean, come on now.
But yeah, like this is a moment that I feel like for Kristina, like this is her mean girl moment, but killing with kindness. And she thinks it's going to land. And I think maybe for her and MC it does. But the flip side of having an all women final 3 is that that's a lot of men on that jury there, right?
And they're all like, yeah, I wouldn't know that either.
Well,
I didn't know any of your names either, right? Like, and it's like it's the stereotypical, but at least speaking for myself, so very true moment where, yeah, I can hang out with a dude for hours and then not ask a single personal detail of their lives. It's like, you guys were together for like 3 hours. How is he doing in life? I don't know. It's not a bit. It's true.
Yeah.
To the point where, yeah, I would end like fantasy football drafts with, all right, fellas, my wife is going to ask. So are there any updates? Anybody get married, have kids?
Write them down on this
jobs?
paper.
There was a Instagram reel. I'm sure it was a TikTok, but I'm 35, so I saw it on Instagram. Of like a guy, with like note cards.
Yeah.
Obviously, it was like a skit, but say like, getting the tea from my girlfriend after a buddy's breakup. And it's like, hello, I heard that you had a breakup. What's happened? So it's like, she cheated. I was like shuffling card. If cheating is involved, what is the Instagram handle and astrological sign of the guy in question? So that was funny. But anyway, no, what is funny, but yeah, so my husband goes into the office every day by choice. Psycho.
Weird.
Freak. But so he'll mention people by name, and like I've gone to holiday parties, so a few of them I met, and like there are a couple people who's like become friends with. We got invited to a wedding, God forbid. And so those people know. And sometimes he mentions a name, and I'm like, I'm sorry, who? Like describe them. And I am someone who has a good memory. My close friend, like my college friends, people I've known at this point for almost half my life, I know the name of their parents, we like refer to that, and stuff. And I know obviously their siblings, but a friend that I've had for maybe 5 years or so, she has a twin sister who I've met more than once. And I don't remember her name because she always just says my sister.
Right.
Yeah.
I think that supports Andy's point that like you're just more likely, just unless it's a close friend that you're talking to all the time or that is likely to meet the person, you just talk about them in relation to you. Like,
yeah. And it's like, yes, these people are in like closer circumstances.
Each other as sis.
Like they're together 24 hours. Like I get it. It's a different social dynamic on the island, but still, like just myself personally, names don't really mean anything to me if I haven't met the person like attached to it. Right. So yeah, I could like have a social game and get all that. But then if you're like name people's family members, I'd be like, oh, shit, man. Like if there's one that a guy keeps like referring to by name all the time, probably.
Right. Which is probably how she gets like Steven's partner, because it sounds like he's one of the people who has like, a live-in girlfriend probably, but no kids or, no siblings that he's talking about. And so it's easy to say like, oh yeah, me and Kelsey do this and yada, yada.
Right.
And especially like as like an older like adult, it's probably uncomfortable to be like calling her a girlfriend all the time. But then like partner always sounds a little weird. All this. So it's like, I bet then you use name more often.
Yeah. And
frankly, one of the reasons to get married early is just because the terminology is easier, right?
Although I still sometimes I feel so like trad if I'm like, oh, my husband.
Right, but like partner sounds so much worse at a certain age, right? And then like boyfriend, grow up, So.
This is why it's better to be a guy in this situation, because then when you say my wife, you can just Borat voice
there
it.
You go.
Yeah,
so much better than my husband.
Right. It's just a better word.
Yeah,
my lover.
Oh God.
No, okay, no.
I think that was on a Will Ferrell bit.
We need a bleep button in this podcast.
What came out of your mouth? Wait, can I just really, really quick, because I was trying to say something earlier. It's just Matt brought up before when we were talking about Sophie's social game about like Savannah, and the thing with Yellow Sophie and everything being more of a social game. I felt the same way when it came to this question. I thought, and I think I've on long-time listeners, I know I've brought this up before, probably when talking about Co Wrong or something, but so often people say social game and they just mean like, I liked you, know?
Yep.
And that's not social, like what the social game is. That Savannah made that connection with Sophie, and through that connection got information that truly saved her ass. Like they did not know that Sage and Joanne had flipped again, but because they had made that calculation and voted out MC instead of Sophi, and Savannah didn't even have to vote to do that. That was huge, a huge part of it. And that was social game, and that connection with Rizzo ended up being the fact that there was the threat of him playing the idol on her is why she doesn't go home at the merge.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's all. You can move on now.
All right. Let's talk about Savannah, who was our winner this season.
It's what I just said.
Sure.
Yeah. That was the prelude.
Exactly. Let's talk about Savannah's game in whole. Oh, Jesus, there had to be a better way to phrase that. On the whole? No, that didn't help either. Let's talk about the totality of Savannah's game. There we go. Nailed it. Wow.
You nailed it.
So anyway,
on a season where the finalists were all women, John.
I know the judge. I will go sit in a corner now as my punishment.
You caught me when I was taking a sip of something. I almost died.
All right. Well, that means Emma has now died. So Matt, you are now the official representative of all women. Please step in. And
as we always intended me to be. So.
Right. So please let us know, as a representative of all women, what you thought of Savannah's game.
Well, as a representative of all women, obviously she's a strong. To be serious, I actually really enjoyed Savannah on my TV. She came off as a psychopath quite often, but I enjoyed that. That is different. I'd rather a Savannah on my TV than a Kristina, who seems like a very nice person and who I never want to watch play Survivor again. And yep. I regret the fact I had to watch her on this season so much. Or Sophi, who was one of the core players of this season and was a freaking bore. Savannah was fun. She was someone who would see someone skulking around a lock and some keys and would dive on that without knowing what it is to try to steal it away from her. That's fun. I enjoyed the fact that Savannah was like her intensity and her straightforwardness really threw people off. Like the classic example being like Kristina coming up to her and being like, hey, like we should talk before this vote. And Savannah's like, I agree. Are you voting for me? And Kristina was like, whoa, 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 whoa. And Savannah's like,
hey, what are we doing here?
It's like, what are we doing here? And Savannah's like, what? You want to talk? I want to talk too. Are you voting for me?
I even just said, who are you voting for?
Nope. Not Savannah.
Ended.
Nope. And that's like the point. So I actually found her very refreshing on this season and just in general. And I think she played a good game. I cited the moments earlier where I thought that despite everyone saying terrible social game, where she actually displayed social game that helped her get further in the game and helped her win. Because she wasn't everyone's friend. But the point of Survivor is not to be everyone's friend. People who try to be everyone's friend usually don't win Survivor.
Either because she's not here to make friends.
Yeah, well, exactly. And that's my point. People who try to be everyone's friend on Survivor, they either go home because everyone's worried about them in front of a jury, or they get to the end and everyone feels so betrayed by their friend voting them out that they lose. The goal is not to be everyone's friend. The goal is to win Survivor. And so, you can't be an unrepentant asshole while doing that. But I think that while a lot of people didn't like Savannah on a personal level, I don't think she was doing stuff to them where it got to a point where they couldn't stomach her winning, as evidenced by the fact that enough of them voted for her.
That she got 5 votes, yeah.
Right.
Well, yeah. So I realized that Emma died earlier, but I have concocted a cardboard cutout that we will use for the rest of the podcast to stand in for Emma. So I'll go ahead and ask that cardboard cutout what she thought.
Throw the alley-oop.
A joke for just the people on this podcast. It's no one else.
So targeted. Yep.
I suppose if Brad listens, he might get it. Mark, I don't know.
Yeah, Mark probably forgot. Because you men forget everything.
That's true.
No, and Brad would remember because he likes me best.
All right, thoughts on Savannah's win?
Yes, Savannah's win. I mean, I kind of agree with Matt. I think I think it was kind of fun to remember that, like, you don't have to play a perfect game, to be not even just a winner, but to even be a good winner. Like, I think she solid, even if there were flaws, and I think that's a little more fun. I also think just with the whole, like, oh, she has mean girl energy thing that she got from really only Sage and Kristina. I thought that was really interesting. I think she's just kind of a interesting archetype. She's very, like, and this is such a basic comparison, but she's like very Parvati-esque, but without any of the like flirtation or charisma.
Or charm.
But, I said charisma. That's charm. She gave it all to Rizzo. He is the Riz god. But that she, she cares about the people she actually has a relationship with. And I think she's just not particularly warm. I don't actually think she's that mean, like, except for her being like annoyed that Joanne kept stealing her stuff, which fair.
I mean, Joanne was very annoying, so I don't blame her for that. So
Yeah, like, he filled her bag with shit and like drank out our water bottle. You're allowed to be annoyed at people. Sort of, and again with Sage, we'll get into that later, but it's like people are allowed to not be your friend. Like, it's not automatically mean. I think, and in this episode, we actually saw her be like very kind, like I thought when we didn't know about Kristina being good at fire making that, oh, she's taking Sage to reward as pure jury play, like, right? And then it's like, oh, I guess not. And also she just seemed to want to like make up for it. Like she said, she found out that she had been rubbing her the wrong way and it like hurt Sage's feelings. So she had tried to like fix that at the merge. She actually, did try to like comfort Kristina. There was, or at the after show, she was really kind of, now granted, she had just won, so it was easier for her. But like,
easy to be magnanimous at that moment.
when Sage was upset, she was like pretty, but like, she also seemed legitimately happy for Sophi winning Final Four when that meant not only, I mean, I guess she thought maybe Sophi was going to take her, but like that could mean the end of her game. And also it meant she didn't break the record, which would have been like a pretty cool accomplishment.
It also would have been nice for us as fans. That list is getting too damn long. It'd be
I
nice
can't remember all this.
if we could just get to 5 so we could stop mentioning Chrissy.
Yeah, that's my exact motivation. Like, just can we never mention Chrissy
the
again?
record, and you don't have to have the male and female record. It's just the record.
Yeah, touche.
I've wanted that. But Savannah strikes me as someone who is kind but not nice, and Kristina strikes me as someone who is nice but not kind.
Oh, that's why I like her, because I'm a Philly person. So that's
Okay.
Go Birds.
Granted, this is fully based on the show. I don't know what either of them are like. Maybe when she's fed and rested, Kristina's very kind. But like, like you even called it her mean girl moment, Matt. Like, was at the final tribal. Like, that's just kind of how I think. And I think with women especially, like, there is that if you are not this like super outwardly warm person who's always smiling and being like joyful, and instead are kind of just blunt and direct, that you are mean. And I don't think that's necessarily the same thing.
She was also allowed to be arrogant in ways that women aren't.
Yeah.
Like she would say, like, I'm doing awesome. I'm the best at this. I'm the Grim Reaper with a smile or whatever it was, or the hot Grim Reaper.
Yeah.
And that, I think, did put some people off, whereas, my stance on arrogance.
Believe that she's attractive.
Yeah. You were going to say something.
I'm just going to say that, I think what her win does for me is validate my theory that you really only need like 2 friends. And then everything's going to be fine. Because that's basically like, social game. Sure, whatever. She had 2 friends. And that was it. And she was fine. She won the whole season. So, this validates my just general life strategy of having a minimal amount of friends. And it's fine.
Like I say, Emma and Matt both had some thoughtful takes that are almost making me second guess what the take I planned on saying is basically Savannah was a modern day Brian Heidick. And
No, I think it's
kind of nice to see, somebody's just there to that's better, like obviously better than the people that, they're against, but, not all that pleasant. You don't get excited for cheering for them. It's like, well, damn, if it can't be, if they didn't do their thing,
I do
maybe
feel
that's not right.
relatively confident that we won't later find out that Savannah has shot a puppy.
Correct.
I feel good about that prediction, but no, I think there's something that, like, down to, I think her like answer to Jawan's question about like what's your why, and her why was basically because I want to fucking win. Fuck you.
Also,
Yeah.
good, because that was the worst fucking question. My skin crawled as soon as he asked it.
Yeah.
I mean, and
Honestly,
great
the more we're talking about it, the more I like Savannah, and now we'll celebrate her and her works because, the questions that were like to like put her down, like put Savannah in her place. Fuck you, both of you. She doesn't need to, she doesn't need to be your friend. She doesn't need to be the warm, cuddly woman that you're all trying to box her into. Would you ask these questions of a man? Huh?
They were both.
I mean, now they actually did in the first Survivor. Like they posed that question to Richard Hatch. I think it was Colleen. Like, name our friends, and he was like, I don't know, and he still won too. That honestly, that question doesn't fucking work. It shows what that voter cares about, and the other people are like, I don't give a shit. That's not what I'm here for. And frankly, like another time when somebody was like naming off facts and friends was Chrissy, and everybody's like, I don't give a shit, you robot. Like that doesn't prove warmth to me.
Yep.
That was something like, and I'm like, God, far be it for me to defend Chrissy, and I'm really not. But that was something else about the Kristina question that it's like, okay, but that's basically how Chrissy answered when they asked her what she knew about people. It was just naming people, and they didn't like that. What are you supposed to do? What is that?
Apparently, you can't just quantify relationships and stuff. There's nuance.
Shocking.
All right,
Yeah, but I do think, the fact that both of those like types of questions came from people who she was never getting either of their votes. And
right.
Yeah.
And like with Kristina because she hated her, and Jawan because he was voting for Sage, and that's fine. Like I don't have a problem with Jawan voting for Sage.
No.
But it's like you were always going to vote for Sage. There's really no reason for you to do any of that. What you do in that moment is you give your friend a softball. You do the like, hey, what was like? Tell me, we worked a lot together. What's something other people might not have known, or something, like that. You're supposed to help your buddy.
But Jawan sucks at this
I don't
game
know if
too,
there's any
so-
helping. Yeah. Well, so what are you going to give Sage,
Fair.
But the more I think about it, fuck yeah, it's awesome that we got a woman that won like Savannah, that unapologetic, just came out here to kick ass and did, and I think more people probably need to reassess their, now look, you can still leave this, be like, I didn't like her. That's cool. That's acceptable. I called her a psychopath throughout most of the season, positively.
Yeah. Parentheses compliment.
But I think a lot of people were like, well, you can't win like that. Well, now she has.
Yeah.
So maybe you need to rejudge, like, because, there were going into the final, I could think of a lot of reasons why a Savannah or a Rizzo wouldn't win. But it was good enough to win this season.
Yep.
My take on Savannah is this: like people basically saying, like, "Oh, well, she only won because of like look at the people she was up against." It's like the Frank Grimes episode of The Simpsons where Homer wins the contest against children, and it's like, oh, but he's in a contest against children, and the response is, yeah, and he's kicking their ass,
Right. All right. So speaking of a contest against children, let's do this one short and sweet. I'll go around. Just give me a yes or no answer. Was Savannah, the best player of the season? If no, who was? Andy, start us off.
I'm going to say no. I think it was Rizzo.
All right. Emma?
I'll agree with Andy, but I think it's pretty close.
Yeah.
And then Matt?
I'll be contrarian and I'll say it was Savannah because she won.
Well, you're outnumbered. Because I'm on board with it being Rizzo.
Yeah, it was Rizzo. No,
yeah.
I know that.
I mean,
Sad thing, Stabler was the best player of 43.
Okay, I didn't say that.
All right. And then just, to briefly humor me, does anybody have any final thoughts that they want to share about my girl Sage?
I do.
Matt, you lead us off on this one.
No, I have nothing else to say about Sage.
How dare you, Emma?
When she talked about when she had her, well, first her moment in the after show is what, again, give them a night, man. Let them like shower and decompress and realize maybe like, oh, not everyone hates me just because they didn't vote for me or something.
Or even like an hour, right? Like they don't interview the losing coach on the field.
Yeah.
Right? They let them go back to the locker room for a bit and then we do it. And it's still painful and awful. Like I could understand asking for a day. It's like those people just want to go home. Fine, whatever. But like I think it might be better TV if you gave them just like, half an hour, something like that.
Yeah. And then during final, just sort of her bit, and you kind of see this with Carolyn too. But of like, oh, people don't usually. I'm usually on the outer group, or they only like me because I'm like funny and quirky. And I was like, oh, you mean because of your personality? That was like kind of weird. And then it was like, and they just and they don't want to be my friend. And it's like, well, maybe stop talking about how you collect blackheads and people will be your friend more. It just seems kind of weird. And like everyone was like, no, we do like you. Like maybe she just needs to work on, do some inner work there. There is something funny of like, oh, people only want to be my friend because of my personality. I was like, what are you talking about?
I mean, to me, it read as like, people only want her in groups because she's a weirdo and they want to laugh at her. Like, yeah, that fucking rules. Like, I mean, I'll be laughing with you. I think you're a funny weirdo, but that's cool. You can be in my social circle and be the funny weirdo. I'm down with that.
That's how, I don't know why else.
That's why Matt's here.
Thanks, bud. I appreciate that.
Perfect. You can move on.
Yeah, no, I mean, I understand like the, but Dr. I am Pagliacci type of vibe she was going for that. But it's like, yeah, look, for one, if you have a weird personality, don't be put off by the fact that people find you weird. It's just kind of how it works. Glad you can find your people, but it's not like a flaw or a meanness in other people that they don't vibe with that.
If you're not for everybody, then you can't get mad that not everybody is into it.
Yeah. Right. And then it's like, like, oh, why do they only like want me to entertain? That if that's the energy you bring to people, I don't know why it's their fault for like taking you at face value. That's like dudes complaining that is like, I got in the friend zone because I like acted like her friend and she believed me. It's like that was the terms of the relationship you set up. You set up the class clown thing, so people treat you like a clown. Yeah, that's kind of how it works.
Men not asking each other personal questions is because a woman then asks them and they're like, oh, she's in love with me.
Well, because we don't have practice. We don't know how that's like.
All right.
And we only want to have like one person to tell any of that too. Like if we got our one, we're good.
Yep.
But yeah, my thoughts on Sage, I just like the idea that she's like, I'm going to wait till tribal council to unveil my, profession, my former profession, and that's going to be what clinches. Like she kept talking like she has something, like, oh, wait till I get there. And look, I actually support the idea of like hiding that you were like an intelligence officer. That's actually something worth hiding, sure. Unlike newscaster, right? But it's not like it felt like as she was kind of setting that up for us in confessionals, like this is gonna bam. Now they're all gonna turn their minds around, and like I just need people to hear this. Again, all future survivors probably listen to this podcast. The final tribal is far too late to turn people's opinions around on you. Okay, you can't be one thing the entire game and be like, but really I'm this, because they've had a few weeks of forming their opinions on you this way. They're not going to do it in the final 20 minutes.
Yeah.
John.
I mean, I've already made my thoughts on Sage quite clear. Like, in a season of absolute fucking duds, she was at least entertainment. And that's all I needed. Like, I needed honestly much more entertainment. But, the bar was very low this season and she cleared it. So,
I just don't like bathroom talk.
You don't like what?
Bathroom
talk.
Bathroom talk. Okay, fine. You can be wrong. That's okay.
Look, I think it's funny. Like farts are funny. That's just true. But it's like it was literally all we got out of her for like 4 episodes.
Which was
like
kind of amazing that she was one note and it was that.
And
Right. Yeah, I
that's
think the issue is Sage.
and I'm like, that's why people view you that way.
Yeah,
I was
man.
amazed she got to the end, like considering where she started. Like, I mean, not by the time we got to the last episode, then I wasn't
Right,
amazed.
but yeah, I think if I had been told in like episode 2 that
Yeah,
yeah,
I would never have thought that would happen.
I mean, yet another flaw of building a system where you ensure that one team keeps losing. But yeah, like a character like Sage isn't meant to be load bearing, and that was a problem for this season.
Agreed.
All right. I'm not really sure how many of us knew who was coming back for 50 from this season, but for those of us that did,
Well, the question: did you?
I did.
Okay,
Yeah.
so all of us.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, why did we have this discussion?
Matt knew
Matt's
first.
fucking fault.
Yeah, so Matt knew first. He spoiled Emma.
Okay.
I actually didn't know until like around the merge or so, and then like I read like a post when I was looking for photos. And now I think I did hear like when it was first announced, but as previously discussed on this podcast, the names meant nothing to me, so I forgot them.
I actually didn't realize
Right.
that I was the one that spoiled Emma. So that
You
actually,
posted the like a whole thing of the Survivor 50 cast, and I'm like, who are those two fucking people?
Hell yeah.
oh yeah, that's right. I did do that, didn't I?
Yes, I
will
wasn't
say-
trying to find out.
Yeah, I was trying not to, but I did. I will say, like early, I'm like, that Rizzo sounds familiar, and then he starts doing the stuff. It's like, oh yeah, it's probably him. And then like it doesn't take long. Like if I had to guess, it would be Savannah because she was the person I was calling out as the star of the season. But once I knew for sure, and all of you guys knew for sure, like how did it affect how you viewed the season?
For me, I'll just say like Rizzo and me and Andy actually talked about this at some point where like we were kind of not on the podcast because we were trying not to spoil for people who didn't know, but we were basically kind of like, we're waiting for something to happen and it better be good when it does, because right now he ain't doing anything except being very young. And that's not enough to justify your place. And look, I don't know if Rizzo like really deserves to be on 50, but I did enjoy him by the end as someone who was like aggressive at trying to play. It's just like, I think it'll be interesting. I think I am more interested to see how he does next season. And by the end of the season, I was like, and now I'm curious to see how this will work with other people who have played a bunch rather than someone who's like, I don't know, like, I don't want to see a freaking I'm not interested in seeing what Genevieve does, But like, I am interested in seeing like if Rizzo can do something interesting, and maybe he won't, which fine. He'll then just go home early. Who cares?
I mean, I think knowing who was cast for 50 probably would have affected my viewing of the season if I was more invested in absolutely anyone, right? Like, I think it provided a certain amount of plot armor for those two where you're like, well, I know they're not the fourth boot, like not that it's impossible. It has happened before. Like Michaela was a very early boot, but she came back. But the odds were pretty strong that they were going to get deep enough into the game to be memorable. But like, again, because of the way this season was structured, I was like, I don't care about anybody else anyway. So it's not like I'm going to be like disappointed that they're going to take out my faves because I didn't have any.
Right.
So
yeah, well, it's less about disappointment. What it robbed me of is the ability to be excited.
Yeah,
like,
I agree.
From a vacuum, what Savannah and Rizzo did was really like exciting and unpredictable. They should not, like, they were dead to rights. They were three, like Steven kept trying to like get that through Sage's head at Final Tribal Council. There were three of them and they survive every week. How are they going to do it this time? Right? Like, again, if you were rooting for them, which I feel like I probably would have because I'm a front runner. But I knew that they were going to survive, not like a specific number. Like you say, they brought people back at all different phases of, They brought back a first boot, for Christ's sakes. Okay. So it wasn't like, knowing it. And again, I didn't really know it at the start of the season, but once I kind of found out, it was more, they haven't done whatever it is they do that makes this show think we got to bring them back right away. We got to keep like these other legends off the show, like knowing the people that didn't make it. They haven't done it yet. So it's like, I know they're not going anywhere to this week. I know they're not going anywhere next week. Like until they do something, I know they are safe.
Right.
Not at a certain point, maybe like 2 weeks ago, it's like, okay, I get it. Like, are they better than, like, I don't know, Rob Cesternino or whatever, like other people that got the boot? No, but recency bias is a real thing. Like, I can understand, like, motivation to try to bring somebody. But, like, it did kind of make what they did feel less exciting. And I will say, like, I tried not to get too predictive in my analysis because of that spoiler. But, like, when at the merge, they vote out Nate instead of them, I knew it was curtains for these people because I knew that these people were sticking around, right?
Yeah.
And like when it was like between, and it's like, well, they're deciding like, oh, should we target Nate or should we try to go for Rizzo or Savannah? And it's like, well, if they go for Rizzo, I guess he'll play the idol. Like, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it really, I would have, I wonder how it would have played not knowing, because I think it really did affect me because, yeah, like the same thing you said, like the plot armor. It's like I didn't know exactly. I didn't know guaranteed that Savannah would win. Although even from that, there was definitely the sense of like when it was first announced and all we knew from Rizzo was like the Riz God promo. I thought like, oh, well, he's just going to be a kooky character. So Savannah probably wins or some shit, right? But luckily, Rizzo turned out to actually have strategy and like be a decent player, so that helped. And then Savannah turned out to be a psychopath, which I didn't anticipate. So that helped, being like, well, maybe she doesn't win, or like maybe one of them win, or like there was, you know, the idea that like Sophi wins, but she's more boring, and so they chose those two instead, you know, or something like, and they make it
Right.
like, you know, she loses at final 5 and he goes out at 5, you know, like there was at that point, at least it was a little more up in the air. But those early merge votes, it was just like, you know, well, they're gonna like when Rizzo should have dead to rights, you know, at the split tribe. It's like, well, he's probably gonna, it's like maybe he'll play the Ed, or like he's probably gonna be fine, or it's like, I guess this plan's gonna work. So that was kind of a bummer, and I do blame.
Yeah, any story that was like hinging on will it be them had no drama.
Yep.
Because I knew it wasn't going to be them, right?
Yeah.
Like we hadn't gotten to a point yet where they had justified. Yeah. At the end, like if you had to pick two people from this season, absolutely those two were the obvious choice. And I feel like that's been the case for a while now. But it was like, it wasn't just that they came back, but it's like they came back for 50.
Right.
You know, they kept like Amanda Kimmel from coming on
Right.
this season or whatever. It's like, so I like something has to happen. Now we're at this point, like we've seen the whole season. I'm cool with it. I'm actually like, I actually now, like by the end of this episode specifically, it's like, I think Rizzo is actually pretty good at this. You know, I'm excited by the way, like he just went for it at the game. Is he my like, you know, personality type? No. But like, I also have to recognize that I keep getting older and the players don't. That won't be true for next season.
Yeah.
But and like one clip for next season where they bring out a certain celebrity really sent home that I am aging out of the advertisers.
We'll discuss that one. Don't worry.
Yeah. But, so it's like that part I can just put aside, but like the way that like he just was there to play the game and he thought things through and he wasn't afraid of the moment. It's like, man, I'm always asking for that. So if it has to come in this goofy ass package, fine.
Yeah.
So like I'm happy that he was the ones, but yeah, I wonder what this season, because I think I would have been rooting for them, right? Because
Yeah. And here's the
Sorry,
most important thing. Rizzo did it for Albania. We can't forget that, people.
The whole country was rooting for him.
I was like, man, I do not know enough about Albania to know if this should be really playing or not. You know, I don't know.
Yeah, let's get on the Albania Reddits and see what they're saying.
That's right. Probably big news there.
One thing that I think is kind of a bummer about him coming right back is because, I mean, he's 25, which is young, not crazy young, but it's still young. It would be kind of interesting to see him like in a few years, you know?
Yeah.
Then again,
Yes.
that doesn't mean that's definitely not going to ever happen. You know, hopefully they'll start doing more returning seasons and not just only at like milestone seasons. But that's really the only thing, is especially with those young players that do have a lot, like, you know, someday it might be interesting to see Xander play again. Or Sam from 47, who was only 23 and reads so much older than Rizzo.
Jeez. Yeah, okay.
crazy.
That's what muscles is just do for you, right?
Muscle is the ability to grow facial hair. Like,
Yeah.
that's the part, but that shitty little mustache was just nothing.
Yeah, and then, look, to be fair to the kid, I think he knows it because
Oh,
he
yeah, for sure.
usually
I'm
shaves,
not that's not like an actual he can't do anything about it. It makes him seem so much younger. I'm pretty sure my brother can still barely grow facial hair and he's in his 40s. Like, it just is what it is. But what's his name? You don't know.
I don't know, but if you need to know about your dad's job, I know a guy. All right, let's go around the room quickly and get just final judgment on the season as a whole, just like below average, average, above average, because obviously we're going to do rankings after 50. We don't do them after every season. So the way you're feeling right now, where ballpark do you think this falls? Middle, higher, lower? Emma, start us off.
Probably still lower, but like a light lower, not like the dregs of society.
Agreed. Andy?
Yeah, probably like lower third or whatever, but better than D's season.
45.
What was that, 46? 45? All right. Because like they shared a lot of similarities. I think I enjoyed this one more.
But they didn't have a
and like I've said this in comments, but I think the main thing is it felt like Savannah and Rizzo were playing well.
Yeah.
Yep.
They didn't have anyone with like a ridiculously thick Boston accent though, which is a point.
No, yeah, that is a tough break.
Yeah.
All right, Matt. What about you?
Yeah, like the top of the lower third is probably around where I'm thinking it probably is.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, season was just mid as hell. It wasn't terrible. It certainly could have been much, much better, but it was not. It's not going to fall into that bottom tier where I'm like, oh God, never again.
Yeah, these seasons actively make me angry.
Right, yeah.
Like this.
Yeah.
All right. Instead, let's shift our focus as the show did, and it has honestly felt like the show's been doing just for weeks, to season 50 because we did finally get a preview, and my only thoughts before we dig into this is that we're doing cameos now. That's the thing. We're gonna make it's just. I'm watching that. And I'm like, I can picture the network executives coming in and be like, you know what the kids these days like? Mr. Beast, and just
Zach Brown.
Yeah, I don't know, man. And just
hey, show of hands though, that doesn't work in an audio format.
Sure.
Who had heard of Zach Brown?
Okay, this is funny. I actually had.
Yeah.
Okay,
I don't enjoy the music, but I've heard of him.
No.
It's fair. Like, yeah, I'm not saying that you go into a show or anything. Now, like, by context clueless, I'm like, I bet he's one of those generic country stars.
Exactly,
but I had not
what he
heard
is.
of
The song, because it's like technically Zach Brown band. I think it's also confusing because there's like a Zach Bryant who's also a country singer.
Yeah, there's a couple of Zach.
I think it was
but
Luke
Zach-
Bryant, but yeah.
Zach Brown,
Maybe there's both.
the
might
chicken
be.
fried song they had was
The what now?
Maybe not. It's not.
Chicken fried?
Yeah.
Is that what you said?
Okay,
Okay.
This is
sure.
It was like popular when I was in college, so that means I was trapped hearing it at times. And that's it. That's my knowledge. I didn't like Survivor.
my other big takeaway for the season, and I'm just gonna say this and leave it there, and we'll move on. Time comes for us all, right?
Yes.
I mean, not Sari, but time comes for the rest of us.
Oof, yeah, that's
Yeah, I was thinking, like kind of looking, it's like, hey, like finally a Survivor cast that isn't going to make me feel so old. Except, I actually think this is what is going to make me feel older.
yeah. I think
Because it's like when you go to like a show of like a band that like was so cool and hip in like the early 2000s, and then you go see them now, it's like, oh, they're old.
Yeah.
Wait, so am I.
Yeah.
Terrible realization.
I was refreshing myself on who the cast was, and honestly, one of my biggest takeaways was just that Rizzo is so much younger than basically everyone else on this cast, and I think he's just gone immediately because of that. Like, this is not a cast that will tolerate his just like insanely young Gen Z energy. There is
Because
just,
the other new era players are all kind of people in their 30s anyway.
like,
Yeah.
Well, I mean, like Charlie's 27, D's 28.
yeah, but that's
yeah.
it. Those are the only other people in their 20s.
And no, I don't know that off the top of my head. I'm literally
Looking
scrolling
at
through the
the list.
cast on the.
Yeah.
But also, I think like Charlie and Dee don't give that same
They don't.
energy.
Yeah.
They do
you
not.
know?
Yeah, Rizzo
Yeah,
gives
no,
very
like-
aggressive, very young.
Yes.
Mike White's not really interested for it to be like the hey, how did you do, fellow kids, thing that like Nate had to do, for instance,
Yes,
right?
yes.
And they might know each other. But yeah, no, that actually, now maybe like he'll be amusing. They'll be like, oh, he's the young guy we can send out to do stuff, although he's not useful. And that actually, real quick take, now that we're talking about that and just his youth and that, one argument in favor of the Final Four fire making challenge, a thing that, there's no point in arguing anymore. It's not going anywhere. But it really has proven to be kryptonite for all of these, like Survivor mega dorks that they just like are lousy with the game now. It's like, oh, I studied every episode, I know all this, but do something useful with my hands. No.
Also, I think I just realized, I'm pretty sure Rizzo was younger than possibly all of Cerie's children.
Oh, wow.
I saw someone point this out online, but if you remember back in season 1 when Jenna talked about like the kids that she did not get the letter from, those kids are older than Rizzo.
Fuck.
Damn.
Yeah.
It was like when I saw Green Day and they had the Lindas open for them, and I was like, oh, they're younger than Billy Joe's children.
Man, this whole conversation is Titanic.
Yep. Exactly. Instead, let's move on with a little palate cleanser here. We got some fan mail.
Oh,
Real
can I-
quick
sorry.
about my thoughts about 50.
Yeah, I'd like-
I'll just say, like, because I don't like this has been since the cast reveal, which frankly, like we did, other than like coaching it up,
Ugh.
I don't know how much more. Oh, and actually, no, there is another thing we need to fucking talk about. We danced around it with Zach Bryan, but more just what a dog's breakfast, a collection of like types here we've got. Like, I don't even think like there's a lot of like bad choices like we've had in previous seasons. It's just, this is what happens when there's two opposing forces as to what this season should be.
Yeah.
Right. So the show clearly, and I think correctly, wanted their next returnee season to be like a spotlight of the new talent.
Mhm.
But the network, and I can't blame them for this, it's like, yeah, that's cute. This is season 50. So give me some fucking names, right?
Yeah.
And so that way, it's just this weird mishmash of like, so it's like, and you think of the people who couldn't make it, it's like, whoa, that legend, we couldn't see it because we needed fucking Tiffany
Genevieve.
to come. Like, yeah, Genevieve. Like, and those are perfectly understandable if you're just doing the first returnee season of the new era. But like for 50, like those names are very good to use because my wife don't know who the fuck they are.
Yeah.
You started speaking and she didn't know who he was. But then it's like other legends they bring back. Like, it's just a weird mix.
It's exactly 12 people. It's half the cast is from the 40s, is from the new era, and half the cast is from before that. But it's like, if half the cast is from before that, that means half the cast spans 39 other seasons, which is weird. So,
right, so you have like the David versus Goliath people, and then you have Jenna and Colby.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I also, just to speak on the whole like weird celebrity cameo shit, this is, man, like why do they do this?
Yeah.
Because we've said a lot that what's always good for the show is just casting. That's what matters the most, and that should be the easiest part of a returnee season. Like, is like you've got proven assets, basically, right?
Yeah.
And that for Winners at War, like, okay, sure, they do Edge of Extinction because that's how they get some of these winners to say yes, I get that. But then they're like, let's throw in fire tokens and all these weird fucking twists. Let's do a tribe swap that gets rid of 3 of our 4 Mount Rushmores, one of whom doesn't join the Mount Rushmore till after this season. Like in one fell swoop. And so now they have 50, and we're like, that should be the gimmick. You don't need to do more to like get people to watch. You have that cast. You have 50. That's why you have the big names to pull in people to be like, oh yeah, Ozzy, Cirie, Colby, and then the newer fans knowing the new people. But now there's Mr. Beast, and I don't want to have to know what he looks like.
Right. I'm not sure if I did know. Yeah, it was quite a reveal for me.
Why are we doing all of this for a season? Like, we could have used all of this on 49.
51 or yeah.
There wasn't anything else happening, you know? You don't need to do this for the why do they do it for the big seasons? And that's just something I find really frustrating, and I just had to see it.
Yeah, it could have been like Survivor 51. We're running out of ideas and just throw all the cameos and shit in.
I do look forward to the scene where they like, hey, it's Mr. Beast, and they pan over to like Mike White and Colby.
Coach sitting there looking around quizzically, like, what?
Yeah. Am I supposed to fucking care? Right. Now maybe Colby's like, oh man, my kids are going to be so excited or something. But does he have kids?
Who gives themselves a nickname?
No, that's so embarrassing.
All right, if we're done with the 50 discussion, let's quickly hit some fan mail that we got. Actually, I'm gonna switch up the order because we got some that I wanted to address first. Ben Folds fan wrote in asking about the fantasy game for next season. Are we going to change to pick 5 or pick 6 because we're having a whole bunch of players next season? No, probably not because it's work for me. So that's a no. And then second, will we get a player preview podcast for 50? That's a better question because I guess it would have to be discussed. But
yeah,
I don't know if you know this, Andy, but I'm not good at calendars.
No. Yeah, what will happen is we will schedule it, and then I'll find out the day before we're not doing it. Look, we obviously don't do previews because the simple fact that we don't know anything about these contestants beforehand, nor do we choose to. For returning seasons, it's just a little different. So I'll say unlikely because more work, John not remembering as a podcast, but not impossible. We've done it before for returning seasons.
Non-zero chance, but not high chance. All right, and then the other one we got, which I had to include for personal reasons. It's hi, my name is Michelle. She, her for future reference. The podcast shoutouts are real on Spotify. I had one from a decluttering podcast I've listened to maybe 4 times. Perhaps you're just not big time enough. Sad.
Nailed it.
So you know what? Bravo. Like I read that and I was like, damn, that cut pretty well. Good job. Also, she includes the burning question. What happened to the all rights reserved at the end of your theme music? I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. It is always there. Always has been there. You're just wrong. No gaslighting ever takes place on this podcast. So you listen to that theme music at the end, you're going to hear that shit just as you always will. Next question.
We have always been at war.
Yes, exactly. It has always been there. I don't know what you're talking about. Then finally, the fan mail that we did mention discussing beforehand. I was just casually reading your season rankings, and I realized that I had absolutely no memory of Survivor 48 or its winner, despite it being just this past season. I know you've talked about how numbered seasons are just less memorable. With future seasons apparently being numbered, do you see any possible solution to this problem? My answer, yes. Stop doing that shit. It's hard to remember. Anyone else?
My answer is I'm just built different. I remember them all.
Sure.
I knew them by number even when they had names. I'm better than all of you.
Yeah, and like this is how The Amazing Race has always done it. It's how Big Brother's always done it. So like if you watch those shows, let us know if you've struggled with it. But no, there's no solution. It's just we're gonna forget. That's how it works.
Yeah, I mean, even like I started watching the British show Taskmaster, which is just, again, numbered seasons. And then I'll be like, I don't fucking know whether I'll just name the people that were on the season because I'm like, I don't know. Why am I going to remember the numbers? It's not like a memorable feature of the season. So, yeah.
And I think like adding back, weird gimmick tags, like if they get weird with the gimmick, then maybe because that helps me remember. Yep. Like, oh, that was the season they did that dumb shit. But if it's just like, adjectives, I'll say I struggle to remember which Mission Impossible is which. And near the end, they actually did start appending names because it's like, yeah, man, Mission Impossible 8 is tough. But it's too late now. Like, again, what's the difference between 3 and 4?
I can remember.
Maybe
It's like I
sometimes.
have to count my way through it. So like with the Mission Impossibles, I'm like, okay, first one's this, second one's this, third one's this, but I can't go immediately to Mission Impossible 6 is this. You know, it's
Yeah, you got to
I got to build up
count
to it.
their way.
Same with the
And frankly, that's also how I do times tables, right? It's like, hey, so like I know fives end in 0 and 5. So if it's 6, let's add, there's like a weird mental math key into my head.
Brad just had another shiver go down.
I was going to say, this is what the people tune in for. You're like,
We should
how
do
does Andy
do
process
naming
math?
conventions like Fast and the Furious movies where it just makes no sense. And
No, those ones I actually do remember which one is which.
It is.
Just yeah.
Survivor, Survivor,
Listen,
Survivor.
Yeah.
Matt remembers those the way I remember your father's job. He needs no recall whatsoever. It is just locked in his brain. All right, let's move on to the top 3 for this week, the final one of the season. And just to prevent absolute fucking chaos on this, we'll go around the table and everybody just give their individual top 3. And this week's top 3 girl group songs, and specifically songs, because initially, like, I was discussing these with my wife, and she's like, "Girl groups," and I'm like, "No, girl group songs." So, all right, we'll go around the table. I'm gonna randomly
I'll go first.
What? Who?
No, you're not gonna. I'm just gonna jump the line.
Go.
Because this was my idea, and obviously, like this comes like as a conversation with the boy bands discussion we already had,
Yeah.
and we got a moment of it in the season. Like they called back to it themselves.
Pretty
girls on the beach, girls on the beach. Yeah. So, yeah, and then much like that one, you then have to start kind of define what do you mean by girl group. Hopefully, when people hear the term girl group, they know. But recent experience has told me that that's not true. At least 25% of the people in this discussion were like, "I'm struggling here." And maybe some of that was on me, but like much like the boy band, kind of as a rubric, if they play instruments, I kind of like that's not a girl group. Like girl groups sing and dance, much like boy bands sing and dance. Also, they're called girl, not women, so like some representation of youth is kind of implied, or at the very least was part of the band's history. Again, as Survivor 50 has showed us, time marches on.
Time comes for us all.
All right. So so with that in mind, and then again, other people can have their own rubrics. That's kind of what I went with. And I'll also say I decided to limit it to one song per band. I decided to start off with a honorable mention. This podcast being what it is, where we are, and you think like an easy one would be like Survivor by Destiny's Child. Mm-hmm. The problem is I've never liked that song. The chorus I find tedious. So not that. Instead, another nod to Survivor. I'm going to go with Weak by SWV. Because one of the members of SWV, Taj George, played on Survivor. So yes, the show has had a girl group member. Weird that they didn't mention it at all. And if you guys want more opinions on SWV songs, John and I both did top 3s on that, and I think like maybe 5 people gave a shit.
Fucking love SWV. They're so good though.
Yeah. So that's my honorable mention. For number 3, this was really tough. Like this was a tougher list than boy bands for me. But I decided to go with Say My Name by Destiny's Child. Great choice, though, guys. Yep. But what really clinched it is like that video was like a bolt of lightning when it came through, because before it's stylish, I got the colors and the posing and all of that. But more importantly, Beyonce was like perhaps the most attractive person I'd ever seen at that point.
Right.
And she's only gotten more attractive.
Yeah, I was like, wow.
Yeah, because like that was their second album, but their first album was terrible and nobody cared. And then they came out with this, and it was like, whoa! It still had the vestigial 4th member of the band in that video and that song.
Well, they had never mind. You don't need me to go in.
Well, I know in the first they had 2 other people, but like there's this 4th. I don't know who that woman is, and I'm never gonna know. But like Michelle and Kelly and Beyonce is there, and sometimes I notice that the other people.
Michelle's in the video, but not on the song. She's not actually on that album. Yeah.
I think Say My Name is actually the one that comes closest to that like NSYNC Backstreet thing, where like if you start playing it, you're probably going to get some people singing along.
Yeah.
I'm trying really hard not to do it right now.
See?
For my number 2, this could change like tomorrow. Like it was really tough picking the song by this band. If I wasn't limiting it, they would probably be 2 and 3. The band is the And they just have so many bangers. It's tough to choose, but I went with You Keep Me Hanging On, why that one. Maybe the guitar, like that's really cool. So, and then for them, I also, to make it easier on myself, decided I needed to stick with young Supremes. Because even by like when they're like really starting to get their hits, they're like in their mid-20s by then. So like 70s Supremes, no longer a girl group, I've decided randomly. And then for number one, this one was actually very easy because frankly, if we were like list some of the best songs ever, this one would be there. It's a perfect piece of music, and that's Be My Baby by the Ronettes.
He just loves that Phil Spector.
Yeah, I mean, Phil Spector is an evil genius, but the genius part is true.
I'm just teasing you.
And yeah, the song, like, I don't think it's hyperbole to suggest that it kind of changed the direction of popular music.
Yeah.
So that's my list.
All right, let's get Emma's take.
I thought I was going to go last.
No, Emma's going to go last.
John,
her list of 10, she can just keep going. That one. No, sorry.
Yeah, and John, it's actually kind of funny. You should do me next now because of Andy's list. So,
well, see, the only thing is, like, I just wanted to make sure I went after you because you feel like you're going to lower the bar so I can clear it.
I'm totally going to lower the bar. Here, I'm going to actually go. I'm going to go in reverse order. I'm not going to count down 3, 2, 1 because the only one that's interesting in my list is actually 3 because my number 1 is Be My Baby by the Ronettes. And my number 2 is another Supreme song, but this one is Where Did Our Love Go? So after me,
I considered that as well.
Yeah, so after me and Andy got it, after me being angry at Andy for his changing definitions of this, we wound up with the same top 2.
Congratulations, Matt. You were right.
You can use.
Well, the thing was, I was going to use the Supremes, but I was basically like, it's like, but okay, look. And then when it came to 3, I was debating a lot of different like stuff. And the one that popped into my head, which to me is like, this is a girl group song. This one does get people singing along when it comes on. This is like the obvious one is Wanna Be by the Spice Girls. But I didn't want to choose that because I figured maybe one of you would choose that. And also by this point, I was kind of mad at Andy. So I chose a Total Troll song. And it's a song that's been stuck in my head for basically the past 2 weeks. And I have to explain why, because you guys will laugh at me and you will be right to laugh at me. It's also a fucking banger of a song, which is, I've been playing this game, a video game, for the past like couple weeks. There is a song by an enemy in this game, and the enemy is a literal siren, and the song is so fucking catchy. It's a siren song, and all I want to do is keep playing that song and keep fighting that person so I can keep listening to the song. And so if you play Hades 2, you know the song is by the in-world band Skilla and the Sirens, and it's called I'm Gonna Claw Your Eyes Out and Drown You to Death. And it's a fucking awesome song.
Title.
It's a great song. It's basically a diss track because you beat the person the one time and then she writes a diss track about you that she plays every time you then fight her again. So,
may I ask one question about the song?
Yes.
The title, are those also lyrics in the song?
Yes, they are.
Okay. I would just like to add as an addendum that that title without any lyrics matching would be great for an emo band.
Yeah. I'll send you the song so you can listen to it if you want. So
I'd love that.
Okay.
It's a stiff competition, but that might be the dorkiest thing you've ever
I warned you, and it basically was like...
Well, you're going to troll with Girls 5 Ever.
That was my other troll choice.
Why you an honorable mention then?
Yeah, so then my honorable mention would be Girls 5 Ever, the one where they do the counting, which I don't even know what that's called. It's just the one that always began the episodes, and I would always laugh when they kept counting and changing words with different numbers. It's fucking hilarious.
So what are you waiting? 5.
Yes.
So my honorable mention, exact same as Andy's. I got to throw out to SAVV, who fucking rule. I've already established because we've talked about them in the past. My number 3 is a song we actually haven't mentioned at all tonight or ever, really. I don't know. Maybe it's just specific to me. Like, it is a total one-hit wonder. Well, not quite one hit, but 702 is the group, and it's called Where My Girl's At. If you hear it, you'll probably be like, oh, I know the one. Very confusing lyrics. She's like, stay away from my man, but also where my girl's at. She's like, ladies, stay the fuck away. Also, ladies, get in here. It doesn't make any lyrical sense, but it's a banger. And then my top 2. Well, actually, I'm sorry. My number 2 is one we've also discussed before. TLC, Creep.
Yeah.
Just, I mean, how would I not have TLC on a list of girl groups? And then number one, I feel like it had to be Destiny's Child. And I still then had choices because I debated Say My Name. I was actually, that came down to one of my last two options. And instead, because I figured someone else might pick Say My Name, I'm like, Jumpin'. That's the number one for me.
Yeah, I considered Creep by TLC, but I went with Destiny's Child. It's because we also did a top three for TLC.
Yeah, we did.
In the
Yep.
past. I was like, hey, chance to talk about a different
All right, Emma, weird us out with your takes.
All right, this is why I went last. No, it's not going to be weird. I'm going last because I had the most options. So this way I just crossed off any ones that were repeated and replaced them. Because it was really hard to decide. So honorable mention, I threw the Supremes in there, even though they're obviously much better. But to me, I think as a millennial, girl groups, I wanted a little more of that like Y2K era otherwise. So I originally had different ones, but I've switched it out and did You Can't Hurry Love, also a bang.
Also considered it.
Yep.
Then I also just now remembered that I had wanted to include as an honorable mention a girl group of the 2000s that I had the CD of that I think very few other people did. I mean, surely some, but they weren't like a big hit. They only had that one album. They're really a like 1.5 hit wonder, I think you could say. Their hit was He Loves You Not, but my favorite was This Is Me, and that is the girl group Dream. Dream had the misfortune of being on Bad Boy Records, and so you can extrapolate from there. But the album was fun, at least when I was 10. And let's see. Okay. For number 3, I am going to go to another favorite of mine. This group, they were tied for the first CD I ever got for my 9th birthday. Maybe 10th. I can't remember the timing. I received both Britney Spears' Baby One More Time and also the self-titled album from Irish girl group Bewitched. And I could choose a deeper cut, but I will be kind to the listeners and instead, of course, choose their own one-hit wonder hit, C'est la vie. Fun fact about what I was like as a child is I remember having my friends over, hey, let's listen to my new Bewitched album. And then whenever the song C'est la vie came on, I made everyone stop talking so we could listen. And if they talked, I would skip and start the song over again. It is amazing that I ever had any friends.
You sound fun.
Yep.
Yeah. This is one of those where you can't blame the other people that they didn't like you.
Right.
I speak from a place of knowledge when I talk of Sage. My order is so tough. I never even fully 100% decide, but you know what? I'm going to go with TLC for my number 2. I also had that and made some changes that, could go a bunch of different ways, but I think it's important to pick a song that is educational, someone that taught us that a scrub is a guy who thinks he's fly. He is also known as a buster. So I just went with No Scrubs. I could have gone so many different ways. John said Creep is great. Love Waterfall. Unpretty is nice. Love TLC. Great group. But that was the biggest hit when I was first like getting into music that I liked and not just what my parents and brother put on. And then, of course, for the final, I had to do Destiny's Child. I fucking love Destiny's Child. I thought, I'll get them. I won't do Say My Name, and had Jumpin' as an option. But of course, I picked that. But so no, I did have an alt, and that is again same writer as No Scrubs, Miss Candy Burgess. That is Bills, which I think because it's important to stay away from these guys who are trifling.
Also, you picked it because your finance dad is on the podcast.
I would have to do that. And because I think it is a song that people only pay attention to the chorus and they talk like Destiny's Child are being gold diggers. But no. If you would listen, you would understand that this man is running up all of her bills. So she's like, if you're going to be spending my money, then you better be paying my bills, which I think is fair and just. Also, a quick anecdote. I'm so sorry, but it is quite funny. I received, the other CDs must have been for my 9th birthday because this was 100% for my 10th birthday. My brother gave me the album, The Writings on the Wall, which is the album with Say My Name, Bills, 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 Jumpin', Jumpin'. It's a banger. He gave me this CD by first purchasing from Goodwill a Rush Limbaugh book, The Way Things Ought to Be, which he then hollowed out and put the CD inside. It was inscribed to someone named Gwyn for her 30th birthday. He crossed out her name and 30 and wrote Emily and 10 in highlighter, a great pen for crossing things out. And yeah, that is my tale, and those are my songs. Goodbye.
Solid troll by your brother there.
Yeah.
Well done.
Well, part of it is because my dad, whose job you know,
Yes.
once, I think for Christmas or something, was given a CD, and it was wrapped without any like box or extra thing, right? So it's very clearly a CD. And he was like, "Oh, is it a book?" And seemed to be sincere. And so then that became like a family inside joke. So he, hid a CD into a book. But also imagine, my liberal ass parents seeing me unwrap this Rush Limbaugh book. I don't think I know who that was. I was 10. And I really wonder how early, because if he would have been in college then, so maybe he bought it far away. But if he bought this in Santa Cruz, like this Gwyn, I bet put the book, it donated it to Goodwill real quick, if I had to guess, from some relative who did not understand her.
All right, let's wrap things up. First of all, thank you all for being here. I'm so glad that we could finally put some long-running inside jokes on the podcast that no one is going to laugh at except for us. Just an absolute dream of mine to make that happen.
Won't even listen.
All right. For those of you who are still listening, Purple Rock Podcast is, of course, our website. I feel like you know that if you've listened this long, because otherwise, what are you doing with your life? You can go in there, check our Final Fantasy scores. Sounds weird to say because it makes me think of a video game, but the final standings for our fantasy league should be up on Monday. And yeah, see you guys next season. I mean, you can go ahead and send us texts if you want, but shit, we're at best, we'll maybe reply to them in a season preview podcast, which may never materialize, or season 1 or the first episode of next season. Anything else, group?
Hit that music that is always ended the same way.
Yeah, always, all rights reserved. I dare you to go back and check.
This is the copyright free outro to another niche survivor podcast.